All right, and I'm going to share my screen. And what we're doing here is we're going to use Launchpad, okay, to get to Photoshop, to access Photoshop. So if you go to your Aspen page, right, you should find a link to Launchpad class link. Cool. So you're going to go in here, and I would recommend you can try signing in with Google. It might work, but a lot of people are having trouble with that. So when you get to this page, you should type in your, so I'm jhickey@sit.org. You would type in, Julia Runkle but you don't have to do the student.sit.org. Okay, so it's just your username from your email, your school email, and then whatever the password is that you use for that. So, okay, good. This is not showing up, so you guys don't get to see my password. And then it should say Situate. If it doesn't, plug it in there. Okay, and then this will load. And here you are on Launchpad. And if you go to the Windows app, okay, so if you don't see it, you can do a search for the Windows app. But if you find it there, click on that. Okay. And this is going to look like if you were sitting on a desktop in like the library, on one of the like PCs in the library. Okay. Which is kind of cool, and it's your Windows app. So the desktop here is going to be your desktop. So you can leave this, log out of Launchpad, do whatever, and come back. So you can see I have lots of stuff on my desktop. If anybody's following along, your desktop probably looks different from what mine looks like. This is my jhickey@sit.org Launchpad Windows app desktop. So you can see I've actually been, oh, that's weird. Okay, there it goes. I actually use this, I like download images on here and I use it. So I'm not sure what you guys would see if you have any apps or anything in here, but you can use the search tool down here, right? So if you don't see like Google Chrome, you can do a search for Google Chrome. If this is going into Windows, you can look for the, you can look through here like as if you're on a PC. But basically, you probably do have the Google Chrome on there, I would imagine. So you're gonna click on this, okay? The New Yorker comic, okay? And I do a little image search here. So you find an image, right? So say, and if you wanna try to click on it and get to the largest version of it that you can, whoops, I need to go back here. I'm gonna right click on this, okay? I want to try to take this image and I'm going to go save image as. Cool. So this is me getting an image and I want to put it, it'll automatically go to this PC. I'm going to put it on the desktop. I believe if I don't select desktop, this PC will actually put it on the desktop, but let's just be clear and put it on the desktop. So here you can see for me, these are all images that I put on the desktop to work for my other classes. And go ahead and just name it something that makes sense. So I'm going to put the New Yorker comic, right? And maybe I'll put like the date that I'm doing this so I don't get confused, right? So file name, call it whatever you want, put it on there, okay? So just as an example, go ahead and, do a search for a New Yorker comic right now, or just sit and watch and you can do this later. But I'll tell you, we're gonna use these as a fun way to look at linear perspective. Okay, so I've gotten an image, right? That's all I need to do here. I'm gonna close this up. I don't need my drive there. Cool. All right. So I just closed up the Google Chrome, okay? And now I'm back at the desktop, and I should be able to see there is my image that I downloaded. Cool. All right. Now all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna open this up into Photoshop. Okay. So I actually recommend, just to make sure, like I have Photoshop on the desktop here, you may have to do a search for Photoshop. But so if you punch in Photoshop, I'm just gonna open up Photoshop. I want you to create a new document, okay? So go create new. And it might be slow. And then you should see something like this, and you should have some options. If your layout might look slightly different, but you should have some options. Sometimes they have preset new documents you can get. and you should be able to at least punch in here. So let's all make, this is going to be our comic study linear perspective. Cool. I'm going to put my initials -JH. I guess you don't have to write anything now. You can just write comic and then your initials, okay? Just so if I ask you to hand this in to me, everybody doesn't have the same exact file name thing. And then for the width, I'm gonna ask that you make this just a standard 10. Make sure this is set to inches, that it's not pixels or anything else. You want 10 by 8, and that'll just be like a print size. Okay, actually, you know what? Let's make it 10 by 8, that's fine. Okay, and you want it 300 resolution. Okay, the background white, it's fine if it's transparent too, but white's good. Cool, and you're gonna hit create. Okay, and you should just have this blank document. Okay, and what I'd like you to do is get this set up with what we're gonna need. So up here at the menu, there's window. Click on it and see, you might have multiple windows open. The only ones you need to have open are layers. So mine is selected. Whoops, I just need to move my Zoom stuff out of the way, hold on. Layers, and you want options and tools, okay? So these are the three things. So the tools, the options, and the layer window should be open. If you have other ones checked, just uncheck them so it's not as confusing. Cool? And what this is the tools window here. This is the layers window. There's just one blank one. And then the options are the options up here, which are for each of the tools. So like when you pick different tools, these are the options up here for the tool. Cool? And I would always recommend when you're working with Photoshop, just default be in your move tool, this one right here. Cool? The other thing that might be different is down at the bottom of the tools window, you might have a different looking display. So I'm clicking on this here and it makes different versions. Okay, this is gonna say, oh no, full screen. Now I'm in full screen and I can't see my tools. I'm using the escape key on the keyboard and that brings me out, okay? So it doesn't, I would recommend being in this view setting, okay? And if you don't have that figured out, your tool window might be not 2 columns here, it might be one long one, it's fine, okay? And all we're gonna do right now, we're almost done. This is like the gist of what I'm asking you to do. I want you to go to File, Open, okay? So think about this, you're in the house of Photoshop and you wanna go and open up the image that we just downloaded. So you're in Open, you wanna go to Desktop, and you should be able to find your image. If you didn't download anything, then you don't have anything here yet. You'll have to do it later. And so I'm gonna click on this, hit open. And when it opens it up here, these are the tabs of the different documents, if you're not familiar with that. So here's my blank document with nothing in it. Here's the document with the comic in here, okay? And what I wanna do is I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna drag it and drop it into here, okay? So I'm gonna just go over here into my comic. This is the layer. I've got my move tool here. I click down on this, hold it down, and I'm gonna drag it, go up here, and drop it. Cool? And I can obviously click and move it around. And I want you to resize it just a little bit, just so you know how to do it. So to resize it, and you'll see I have the background layer that has nothing in it, and I have this layer that has the comic in it. So I want to make sure I'm in this layer. These are just little visibility eyeballs, right? So I can turn them on and off. I'm in this layer. I go to Edit, Transform, and I want you to go to Scale, okay? And if I click and drag this, okay, obviously you can get bigger or smaller. You probably know that. Right now, just so you know, this is locking the proportions. If I unclick that, that would allow me to stretch it, okay? Cool. So if I click it, it locks it. Some of you might know that the Shift key is also a keyboard shortcut for locking and unlocking that, but you can just use this one for now. So I want you to just start out and make it, I don't know, like small, around this size relative to the page, whichever one you got, okay? And then when you do these edit transformations here, so you know, you guys can mess around with these things if you want, scale and rotate and whatever, you just want to make sure you apply them. So I hit that check and it applied by scaling it down to a little bit. Cool. So I'm going to go File, Save As. Please always, with image files, always choose Save As instead of Save. And it's basically because image files, every time you save them, they get compressed. Oh, this is what I was remembering came up for some people. So you're going to select Save As, and you might see this: Save to Cloud Document, Save on your computer. Choose Save on your computer, okay? And for now, we're going to work on this in Photoshop. So I want you to do Save As Type, leave it as Photoshop. You can leave it when it's like this. Make sure it's going onto your desktop. Again, this PC and desktop is the same thing, but it's kind of good to get in the habit of paying attention and putting it in there. Hit Save. This maximize compatibility will come up. That's fine. We're just messing around with this thing anyway. And that's it, okay? What I can tell you is, those of you who know linear perspective, people who do comics are not thinking about drafting and making everything all perfect. They're just trying to create the ideas that are in their head, right? But every comic that I've ever seen and appreciated their work, they understand perspective and they're using it. So we're going to take these, there's enough perspective in this drawing for us to extend and expand this drawing beyond here. So that's what that's why we're doing this, and we'll do it with a bunch of things.